Hello, Dr. Shaw here, and welcome to another episode on Teaching Humanity Remotely. Today I want to talk to you about the balance between when are we supposed to be continuing to be relentless and make continued efforts, and when are we supposed to stop? And this can be on so many levels. For example, your child asks you to sign them up for some sort of sport or after school activity, and you do so even though it's going to make you work harder to make sure you get to pick them up in time after school and so on and so forth, or maybe it's going to cost the family money that might be challenging, whatever the case may be. So you do it, and then your child wants to stop that dance or stop going to some sort of practice after school. When do you say, okay, you can stop, versus no, you have to see it through, you made a commitment? That's a question, but let's say, that has to do with your child. And then sometimes in order to know the answer, you need to think, well, how does that show up in my life? What am I modeling for my child? Let me see if I can note and mark something. So I get invited to this party. It's a celebration for someone I respect so immensely, who's so important to us in our family. And it's a surprise party for this person. And this person survived a medical disease that was very serious. And so there's so much to celebrate her well-being and her life. And she's not a young woman. And I really, really want to go. And it's in another state. And so I have to make sure that if I leave family here, that they're well taken care of. So I have to figure that out. I have a dog that needs to be taken care of. It's expensive to travel and so on and so forth. But I really am so grateful that I'm invited. And I'm also incredibly tired, healing from my own medical issues. When do you say, you know what, even though I really want to go, I'm not going to go because I'm so tired, or I'm going to make a super effort because this person matters so much to me and I want to show up for this person. And I also know that the only thing that really matters in life is how you show up. It's how you show up. So if I don't show up this time, I may not be invited to another surprise party. She might not have another surprise party. She's not a young woman. So I'm making the effort. And I know that even though I'm really tired and it's a big effort on many, many different levels, I know that the gift of being part of that celebration is going to feed me so much more than it's going to cost me. And I'm showing up because I'm staying true to my belief that super efforts make super results. And I'm going to be tired either way because I'm in a time in my life where I get tired kind of easily. And so between the travel and between the party, I'll rest and try to do the best I can. But I'm also trying to incorporate all that feeds me. And some of what feeds me isn't necessarily just resting all the time. Some of what feeds me is being re-inspired after making an effort. So for me, I know that it's worth going, and I know that if I don't go, I would be tired anyway, and I would feel terrible. And there are a lot of times in my life where I'll say to my partner, I'll say, let's go listen to music. And, maybe he'd say, well, but, you're really tired and we have to watch the kids tomorrow. And I'll say, yeah, it's true. But either way, I'm going to be tired. So at least I'll have a nice memory that will make me feel good. So it's sort of like, not that not watching the kids is a nice memory, because that's a very nice memory too, but it's feeling good in a different way. And so it's sort of like prioritizing, knowing yourself, knowing when you need to rest, because rest is the only thing you can do. Like when you're sick with the flu and you really just need to let your body sleep it off, versus when you're a little tired, but if you change your environment and make a little effort, it will actually feed you. It's about knowing yourself. So when it comes to when a child makes a commitment and they want to change their mind, I think it depends on a few different factors, what's changing their mind. But mostly what I would say is, because I'm very big at being proactive, and I would have a pre-conversation. And let's say dance is for 8 weeks, dance after school for 8 weeks, or practice after school for 15 weeks, or whatever the case may be. before we make the agreement to make the commitment to do the dance after school, do horseback riding, take the sports activity after school, before we do that, I would say a few different things to my child. I would say, if you get into this program, this activity after school, someone else is not getting into it. So before you make a commitment, I want you to think long and hard, because I want you to make the commitment to see it through. I want you to see it through because you're taking up someone else's space. I want you to see it through because it's important to not be a quitter. So maybe what you want to do is, before we sign you up, maybe you want to just see if you could observe what it looks like to do football practice. Maybe you want to observe what it would look like to do that dance class. Maybe you want to see if you could just go horseback riding once. So you can sort of see about that. Like, let's say you want your child to check in with a counselor, and if your child really doesn't like that experience at all, you don't want to make them do it over and over again, because that won't be healthy for your child. But what you might do is say, well, you know what, one time isn't enough to figure it out, and 10 times might be too much. So I want you to make a commitment that for 3 to 5 times you're going to go, and then if you really don't like it, we can change. So it's about the agreement that you make beforehand. I think that's really key. So that's really what I'm addressing. I make agreements with myself, and I know that for me, something that's so important is how I show up to the world and to myself in the world. And if I make a commitment, I want to follow that through as best as I can, unless there are some really extenuating circumstances where I can't. But otherwise, I know that the commitment also feeds me. So I think it's about being really clear, and also showing your child what you go through when you need to honor a commitment that you want to change your mind on. But to remember that what you do, how you are, and how you show up in the world is being modeled for your child. So that's why I think to be proactive is really helpful. And again, it's about balance. But I think if our children ask us to commit to something for them, I think they need to see it through. And I think that needs to be pre-discussed, and only in very unique circumstances would I think that they can change that, based on something that, if it's a horrific experience, if the coach is abusive, or something like really like beyond the beyond. Otherwise, I think that it's important to see something through, and then maybe the next time your child will think before they ask to make a commitment, because we don't want to motivate our children to be quitters. We don't want them to stay doing something that is really not in their best interest. So there's that balance there. So conversations and knowing your child the way you do, knowing that you are the best informed person when it comes to your child, will also help you make the decision. But I also feel like to not be a helicopter parent, and also encourage your children to honor their commitments and see something through. Like, if they say they're going to go to the party, then they should really go to the party. If they say they're going to have a time with their friend, they should really have that time with their friend. Because, it's important to stay true. And yes, we can change our mind from time to time, but the payoff of seeing something through and being able to accomplish our goals is really very, very helpful to us. And it teaches us to have resilience, and it builds us the muscle of stamina, which I think is so incredibly important. So I hope this is helpful to you, and until next time, please enjoy having conversations with your children and seeing the value of being proactive. And feel free to visit my website at learnwithmeremotely.com, and also feel free to visit my author's page, Dr. Mindy Shaw, at Amazon Paperbacks. Until next time, be well.